I'm Mallory.
And I'm Laura, and we are joining you again from the beautiful campus of Meridian to touch base this week and see how things are going.
Yeah, so Laura, I've heard you say a few times or mention a few times this concept of giving ourselves grace and mercy. And we haven't actually talked about what that actually is. So I'm wondering if you could kind of tell us what is that? Grace and mercy.
Absolutely. I'm really big on the importance of giving ourselves grace and mercy, right? And I think it's important to start the conversation by saying that grace is often used as a religious term, but it really isn't. It's about compassion and forgiveness, and none of us are perfect. And we do things that we're not proud of, and we do things that we know better, and we do things that maybe we didn't know better, but then we learn better, and we make mistakes. And I just think that compassion, forgiveness, grace, and mercy is really important.
Yeah. So what does that actually look like? How do we give ourselves grace and mercy?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think that we can look at the way that we give it to others as an example or a guide on how we can give it to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So if you've ever had a situation where somebody that you care about has hurt your feelings, as an example, right? And what does it look like when we forgive them, or we give them a pass, right? Or we show them a little bit of understanding about what might have gone into them behaving the way that they did, or making the choices that they made. And I think we just need to treat ourselves as well as we treat the people that we care about, because we have to love ourselves too, right? So, a good example would be, let's say maybe at work, our depression or anxiety has sort of gotten in the way and affected our focus, and maybe we've dropped a few balls, right? We've missed a deadline, okay?
Yeah.
We could beat ourselves up about that because that was a mistake, and we shouldn't do those things, right? But we could also give ourselves some grace and mercy and forgiveness and move forward from that.
Right. Almost like apologizing to ourselves.
Exactly. And I think that's where we can take cues from our relationships with others to learn how to do it for ourselves, right? So if we are forgiving somebody else, or we're giving somebody else compassion, what makes it easier to do that? Well, when they apologize, right? So maybe we need to apologize to ourselves so that it's easier for us to move on.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I feel like, it's got to be important to our mental health. How does this, why is it important to our mental health, and how does it affect our mental health, this concept?
For so many reasons, right? So when we don't forgive ourselves, we don't show ourselves compassion, guilt builds, right? Resentment builds the same way that it would build in a relationship with someone else if you're holding on to that as well, right? It also really prevents us from moving forward. And then when we are feeling guilt and fear and anger, our choices reflect that, right? So to cope with those emotions, if we're not practicing, like a lot of the things we've talked about, some healthy behaviors and things like that, but also grace and mercy, then we run the risk of making bad choices to cope with them. Maybe making bad choices with substances, maybe making bad choices in our relationships. So I think it's very important to our mental health to really understand that we're not perfect, and to really understand how to forgive ourselves when we display our imperfection.
Yeah. So, if I have a problem with work or something, and I end up, apologizing to myself and giving myself grace and mercy, how do I move forward from there? What's the next step
That's
after
a great question, because it's not enough to just say, oh, well, I'm not perfect, because then it looks like an excuse, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, but if you think about it, when we extend grace and mercy to someone else, or we forgive someone else, and we show compassion and understanding, we do expect a behavior change, right? Like, if you're sorry, I don't expect you to do that to me again, right?
Right.
Or I expect you to at least make an effort. So I think we need to hold ourselves to those same standards. So now we've extended grace and mercy, and now there needs to be some action behind that. Okay, so now I've taken care of the guilt and the anger and the shame part, and now I'm going to do better. Now I'm going to make a different choice, or a better choice.
Kind of like apologizing, giving yourself grace and mercy, and then making that one kind of positive step forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's great.
So we're replacing it, right? So now we've taken the thing that we're guilty about, or shameful about, or angry about, or have anxiety about, and we're replacing it with something new, a step forward, something that we can be more proud of, and something that really does show that we were more deserving of that grace and mercy than we may have initially thought.
Yeah. So you guys let us know if you know, you have any circumstances where you want to give yourself grace and mercy, and you know what that looks like and what that positive step forward looks like. And always keep in mind, like, if, you know, after you kind of apologize to yourself and forgive yourself, if things still get to be too much, if you're finding that you're struggling with substance use or just really down, depressed, anxious, just know that Meridian is here for you. We're by your side. We're still open for services, and you can always give us a call at 352-374-5600. Bye.
Bye.